To solve this pair of simultaneous equations by substitution, we're going to be using a three-step method. Before we do anything though, as soon as we're given a pair of simultaneous equations, just to keep things organized, it's a very good idea to label those equations. So I'm calling the first one E1 and the second equation E2. Now we can get started. Step 1 is going to be to use either one of these two equations to find an expression for one of the two variables. What I mean by that is, by the end of step 1, we want an expression which says x equals to something in terms of y, or y is equal to something in terms of x. And we do that by using either one, E1 or E2, either one of the two equations. So let's see. If I look at E1, we have 8x plus 4y equals to 4. Now if I subtract 8x from each side of this equation, we'll be left with 4y is equal to 4 minus 8x. And now if I divide both sides of this equation by 4, we'll have y is equal to 1 minus 2x. And that really is our first step done. You want to box that first result in because we're going to have to use that later. Our second step, step 2, is to turn to the equation that we didn't use in step 1. So in this case, we used E1 in step 1, so we'll be using E2 now. We turn to E2, which was 6x minus 2y equals to negative 12. And what we're going to do, we'll replace the y value in this equation by the y value that we found at the end of step 1. So in other words, we're going to rewrite this equation here as 6x minus 2. Instead of y, we're going to replace it by this expression. So 2 times 1 minus 2x. And remember, that's equal to negative 12. The reason why this is convenient is because all of a sudden, in this equation, the only unknown is x. And we can solve this. Let's see, if we have 6x, I distribute that 2 across the parentheses, minus 2 plus 4x is equal to negative 12. This 6x plus 4x leads to 10x, minus 2 equals to negative 12. Adding 2 to both sides of this equation leads us to 10x equals to negative 12 plus 2, which leads us to 10x equals to negative 10. Finally, dividing both sides of this equation by 10 leads us to the value of x, which is x is equal to negative 1. We now have the value of x. Now that this is done, we turn back to the expression that we had found at the end of step 1, which I'll remind you, we had found y is equal to 1 minus 2x. And so in step 3, we're going to combine both of the results that we have found in step 1 and step 2. Remember, this is what we found in step 1, and this is what we found at the end of step 2. So combining both of these results, we can start by rewriting this expression for y, which was y is equal to 1 minus 2x. And now we're going to replace this x value by negative 1, leading us to y is equal to 1 minus 2 times negative 1. We carry on. That leads us to 1 minus negative 2. And when we subtract a negative, it turns into an addition. So this leads us to 1 plus 2. And finally, y is equal to 3. We now have both values. And we have solved this pair of simultaneous equations. So the solution to 8x plus 4y equals to 4, and 6x minus 2y equals to negative 12 is x equals to negative 1, and y is equal to 3. And there we go.